Okay, now tell Chris about all the work that it needed and what you have done so far.
So, although the boat was built to be capable to go overseas, it didn't have anything in it that would prepare it. It was used in a sailing school, so they just sailed around part of the Chesapeake Bay, and that's it. So they were just day sailing, just day trips. So the accommodations were there, but they weren't reinforced and they weren't equipped to go out. And there's been some, because the boat's over 40 years old, there's been some wood rot, so there's wood that needs to be replaced. We replaced a cabinet that was under the companionway steps and put in a new companionway step so we can get into the area that's underneath me here, which is just a big, underneath the cockpit is a big open space ready for storage. So
Now, we call it the garage,
right.
but I was actually kind of surprised because there's a whole lexical universe associated with boats and sailing. So I couldn't believe that we would have to come up with the term, the garage, because it seemed like everything that can be termed is termed at least three, maybe even multiple termed. It's wow.
All nautical kind of.
Yes.
So I call it the garage because it's a little tongue-in-cheek. Very large super yachts have garages in the back of them. They can open up the back of their boat at water level, and inside they've got power boats and jet skis and things like that, and they just sail them right out. They're in the water inside the boat. They just open the garage door and sail out. So this is a little tongue-in-cheek because no one thinks of this actually as a garage, but it is kind of garage space for us.
Alan has built a lot because his dad was a carpenter, so he's got that excellent knowledge base from childhood. And we will be repainting and possibly reupholstering. We're actually thinking of taking our wedding banner and seeing if we can get at least some of the cushions reupholstered. It smells much better in here today.
It is getting better, yeah.
Yeah, so we have been coming here. I've come here very sporadically and actually slept in here. It's like camping. I'm usually okay if we remember ample pillows.
Yeah.
The mud wasps come in and build their habitation there. That they're tiny. They use tiny balls of mud, which they carry on their legs, and then collectively build their fortification, their fort there, and then we have to chase them out and break it up. So as you can see, it's far from like finished, but this is the boat, and when we make the crossing to Albania, we'll lose even more space because we will use the V-berth as storage. Right now, we sleep there, and when we are cruising, we also will... That little thing is called a boxio. It's actually a toilet. So it closes up, and then we put this thing down, and then we sleep over where we shit. Isn't that nice? And that's deep in there is the garage, so it extends back. So there's a little bit of storage. There's some storage space in there if we're careful and we're smart about how we pack it and what we take and choose to use for terms for ballast and whatnot.
Right.
And then we will have... Alan's also really a whiz at figuring out power sourcing, solar panels, solar showers, everything, because he was in the Air Force and he did a lot of communications work. He's very good with setting up electrical systems and making sure there's redundancies, especially with respect to...
Well, for navigation especially, and for
right.
power as well.
So people have asked us, they have concerns that we'll just go and we'll be adrift and it'll be like some goddamn movie. And I keep trying to like reassure them, but I actually at this point don't have the knowledge the knowledge to even explain why that we have like 6 different ways that can't happen, because we are backed up and there's GPS and then there's but don't worry, we will not get lost and adrift.
We have a Garmin GPS receiver that we can buy maps for all around the world. InReach means that there is global communication, including global SOS communication, so we can be rescued if we need to. We have already a GPS-equipped tablet, which has an open CPN navigation system in it, so it's separate and redundant to this. And we have a system loaded onto my phone, which will be dedicated for navigation as well, because we're getting new phones. Also, again, GPS equipped. So we'll always know where we are in the world. We'll have 3, 4, 5 different devices that will tell us where we are at any given time. And if you know where you are, then it's a simple matter of setting the right compass bearing to get where you want to be, and then following the compass to get there. It's just that easy.
So everything that Alan chose for the boat, he chose on the basis of what is the likelihood that it will be breaking down en route. So so many people with larger boats, we watch YouTube constantly, and he's got quite a lot of running commentary on the large boat people. They sort of dominate the scene, and I was like, I don't want to be looking at this shit because they have like boat space and stuff, and but the point is, we're setting ourselves up for it to be pretty much fail-proof, although you can never completely fail-proof. But this is our motor. It's an outboard motor. If you have an inboard motor and you are not a small person with incredible mechanical skill, and if something goes wrong, then you are at the mercy of your sailing skills and the elements, and it's just not the way he wants to go. So,
well, the problem with inboards, the larger boats, people will motor when they should be sailing, and they'll miss the opportunities to sail in difficult situations, challenging situations, so they won't develop the skills. And then when their motor quits on them and they suddenly have to sail in those circumstances, they won't be ready for it. They won't be able to get themselves out of trouble with their sails. And frankly, larger boats don't sail as well as smaller boats either. So this boat will sail almost like a dinghy. It will sail very easily. We don't need any mechanical advantage to handle the sails or anything like that because they're small. If we had a larger boat, we would. And if you can imagine, for example, our mainsail is 88 square feet. Chris's mainsail across the way over here is well over 200 square feet. The pounds of pressure per square foot quadruples anytime the wind speed doubles. So if the wind goes from 10 knots to 20 knots,
it's an exponential factor.
Which is when you start thinking that you want to reduce sails, the pressure on the sails has gone up 4 times. And if you don't have the winches and other mechanical advantage available and working,
right,
then you are in a bind.
Right. So, I mean, this is a flawed analogy, but it's a lot like when you hear people who, in the boating community, there's a divide between people who actually appreciate sailing for sailing for the sort of consonance with the elements and the ability to move yourself from place to place using the skill that is this ancient skill set, and people who just put motors and drive it like a car or like a giant RV, so that was one of the things I was like, we're getting married on a catamaran, but a catamaran is so not, that's we don't, because we've been going through these boatyards and I'm like, oh my god damn, like it's just like RVs on the water, and it's just very American. And so and another thing is that when you hear people talk, like we had that guy, remember the guy who was across from the boatyard in Annapolis, and he had one of those big old boats, and he was like, I am ditching this, I'm going back to a sailboat. It's sort of like when people who relish having a manual transmission car, bitch and complain about automatics and like how it just takes the joy out of it. So, but much more, like on like 10 times that. So then, honey, tell him about let's go up to the cockpit and you can tell him about the timeline.
Okay. So the time, we have a timeline, and we hope we're holding to the timeline. But there's a lot of variables because we have the house and property to deal with in Carlisle. But imagining that that's resolved, our plan is to get out of here the end of October, early November, and start heading down the Chesapeake Bay and down the Intracoastal Waterway, down and around Florida and up to Panama City, getting to Panama City around the end of January, so about 3 months, and then turning around and coming back the way we came, only going offshore, so we can get some 2 to 5 day offshore experiences, some overnight sailing, etc. So we're always on duty, always on crew, which will have to be when we're crossing the ocean, and we'll do that in 2 months. And it seems like a lot, but it really comes down to an average of about 22 nautical miles a day on the way down and 33 on the way back.
So it's doable it's sailing school for me. It's like a crash course.
Even for both of us. I mean, this is beyond what I've done in the past. So, yeah.
And okay, continue. So then.
Yeah. So when we're sailing around the clock, for example, this boat will do somewhere between like 70 and 130 miles over the course of a 24-hour period. So we'll really put in a lot of miles doing that, and then we can take days to recover and get to a hotel and clean up. But we plan to be back here around the end of March. We will do whatever the boat needs for repairs or replacements or upgrades. And then the sailing season across the Atlantic is typically late May to early July. And we've got a couple options. One is to go down to Norfolk and be stationed there, ready to go, and sail from there out to Bermuda, and then to the Azores, and then I think we're going to go to Madeira and Morocco and into the Mediterranean. An alternative, if we're done here and it's still early and we don't want to just sit here and wait, is we could sail up through New York City to Long Island Sound. We both have friends up in Connecticut.
I want to see all this. Well, yeah. We can't see. Well,
we'll be closer. We'll be closer.
We will, but then Bettina, and then maybe Ken. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got to have those friends there as well.
That just makes more sense for me. And then we can still. It's a straight shot to the Azores.
So
where the guy. I don't know if you met him, but at the wedding last night, there's a guy who also worked with me. His name's Manuel. He and his partner Rebecca are probably moving to Portugal or the Azores. So, you know.
Yeah, he was a guy in the kilt.
Yeah.
So sailing from Norfolk to Bermuda is about 700 miles, and then Bermuda to the Azores is about 1,800. Sailing out of Long Island Sound to the Azores is about 2,000 miles, or 200 miles rather. 2,000, yeah, 1,800 and 2,000. So not much of a difference, really, and total distance offshore overnight sailing is actually less. So those are the options. It's possible that we'll be stuck here doing things until it's time to quick get down to Norfolk and head out. But I kind of want to go up the East Coast and see some more scenery before we head across.
Me too.
So we'll miss Bermuda, but
and then when will so it's hard to exactly project, because that's another thing about this mode of transportation that it's really designed to take a person who's in any way, shape, or form what they used to call type A and completely break them down. Wouldn't you say that this is a reform laboratory for anybody who's in any way leans that way on the personality spectrum? They would just be completely shattered, pulverized, and then whenever they get wherever they're going, they'll be like a brand new person. They'll
learn patience, at least.
Yeah.
My favorite word. Yeah.
Yeah.
So 2,000 miles. The problem is you can't, we'll leave on a good weather window, but you can't really predict what the weather's going to be like after 3 days. So you might leave with 3 beautiful sailing days, you might make good progress, and then you'll be becalmed for a couple days. Or maybe you'll get a storm, and so instead of moving forward, you turn and heave to and just stay in place until the storm goes by, and then resume sailing again. So, it's really hard to predict how long that will go. But again, like I said, this boat will do 70 to 130 miles a day, typically, if there's any kind of wind at all. So that can go pretty quickly, actually.
And along the way, I'll try to vlog and post things as I'm able with Wi-Fi. We're gonna create we might do the vlogging thing. It's too much to for me to think about biting off and chewing all at once. I'm just gonna focus on the sailing skills. But I want to play this little game on the internet. For a while, there were these viral videos and memes. And it was an A-B side-by-side comparison. And the question was, is it a London flat or is it a Swedish prison cell, right? And so I'm going to be documenting and finding different carceral habitations, dwellings from around the world and comparing them to
your little cell.
And then all, my contingent, my ultimate the last resort contingency plan for me was just to start scrawling things on napkins like, help, I'm being trafficked. Right, but that's blown because we got married and shit. So I'm just gonna have to suck it up, buttercup, and learn some stuff. Anyway, that was a tour of our boat and an overview of the timeline. Thank you so much. Love you. Bye-bye.